I don't see any sponsors on the bulletin. Anyone who's sponsored that I'm forgetting? No. Okay. We want to thank the family of Dr. Bruce and Karen Greenstein, who are sponsoring in memory of Hannah Greenstein, Bruce's mom, Hanya Rachel Bas Shlomo, in commemoration of her yurtzeit. Neshama Neshavan Aliyah, and we will learn Li'ilui Nishmata, Yeshkoach to the Chevra for setting up. Juan isn't here, and we still have it. We have shakshuka, yes? Yeah, still have shakshuka. We still. There you go.
Not the good potatoes, though.
Not the potatoes look a little different. But, what? I don't know. Who cooked? Who cooked it? Yehuda. Shkayach.
All right.
Yehuda Shkayach. Okay. I also want to dedicate this year in memory of Oded Lifshitz and Ariel and Kfir Bibas. The sort of the juxtaposition of the two of an 83-year-old man who was brutally murdered and babies who were killed, and Shiri Bibas. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe she's still alive. Who knows? Whatever it is, Hashem should provide a protected cover for all of them, and we shouldn't be like our enemies, and our enemies should learn a very, very severe lesson, so that they can never do this to us again. Okay, so on that note, I want to take a look at a few psukim that I think are really, to me, I feel like very relevant to now. Parshas Mishpatim is literally about the way that we are, right? The Parshas Mishpatim is about the way that we are meant to live our lives, right? According to a set of laws and a moral code. It's who we are. In the beginning of Parshas Mishpatim, it says, "Eila Mishpatim asher tasim lifneichem." We're not learning this. And it says, this is for you and not for the nations of the world, within which you find yourselves. We live by a certain set of laws, and where do those laws and where do those standards and those principles come from? They emanate from a very deep place. They emanate from a place of sensitivity, of care and concern for a fellow human being. And we see it. We see the contrast very, very clearly of how they experience that, really not at all, and how we experience it and what we feel. But it comes from somewhere. It's not just like, I feel like I need to be a good person. Hashem really prescribed that. It's one of the beauties, one of the chidushim of the Torah, is that these ideas come from God. They emanate from a very high and a deep place that create a certain sense of commandedness upon us to do that, to act that way, even if we don't want to act that way. So if you look at Kaf Bet, so it's on page Shin Samach Daled. So it's Kaf Bet, chapter 22, verse 22. It says, "Beger lo toneh v'lo tilchatzenu, ki gerim hayitem be'eretz Mitzrayim." You can't exploit a convert. You can't persecute that, oppress the stranger. Right? You have to be kind. And why? Because we were strangers in Egypt. Kol almana v'yatom lo te'anun. And a widow and an orphan you can't afflict. Right? They have no one there for them. God says, if you afflict them,
We don't know where you are.
sorry, I'm on the bottom, Kaf Bet, page Shin Samach Daled is the page. Iman Netaneh. No. I'm reading the pasuk for you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm reading the pasuk for you. I just wanted to give you the context. Okay.
You don't know the parsha by heart?
Come on.
It's the
Come
one
on.
I missed.
Okay. So Imanei Taneh, but at least you're paying attention. Okay. So Imanei Taneoto, if you afflict them, you're going to have to answer to me, God says. Right? The widow and the orphan are sacrosanct to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And God says, right, you can't afflict them. What is affliction? Afflicting them it could be exploiting them physically or monetarily, but really really, it's psychological torture. It's treating them in a way, right, that you could just do whatever you want with them because they're at your mercy. That's what we are dealing with this, and it makes it so maddening to experience the bus bombings, which was a miracle. Right, I'm sure they meant that all the 5 bus bombs should go off when they got into the bus depot with no one there. I'm sure that was their intent. Could you imagine what a miracle? Could you imagine what a miracle that is? Right? But at the same time, they want to do it, right, at the very same time that they're sending back the wrong corpse.
Well, as
Yes.
you know, the theory is that they set it for PM instead of AM.
9 p.m. instead of 9 a.m.
That's called a miracle.
That was Hashem.
That's called a miracle, okay? Okay, or sheer stupidity, but that's called a miracle. Yeah, that's called a miracle. Anyways, so now on the sheet, imane taneoto, if you afflict the widow or the orphan. So it says otani baile, says the Kli Yakar. It shouldn't say if you afflict him or her. It should say if you afflict them, right? Because it's talking about the widow and the orphan. It's talking about this sort of protected class. Umala kefel ane taneh sa'okitzak shamoa eshma. So the pas again, I was reading for you. There, it has a repetitive verb, right, where it says imane taneh, if you afflict, im sa'ok. Ki im sa'ok yitzak, Eli, for if they cry to me. Again, it says it twice. Shamoa eshma, I'm going to listen. So we know that means I will surely listen, or if they will cry. But like, it's very odd, right, to have a kef 3 of these double kef lashons in one pasuk. Uvederech hapshat nuchal lomar, he says, here's how we can explain it. Shalifamim adam me'aneh tayatom levad. Sometimes a person might afflict a orphan alone. V'imo almana enaha root v'chalot ve'en la'el yada latzilet bina. And the mom, right, the widow, she's seeing it going on, right? I don't know, some orphans being abused, and she can't do anything about it, right? Because she has no agency, she has no power to save her son. And through that inui, right, afflicting one of them or torturing one of them, you end up, hurting 2 people. Ushneim toakim, and both of them start to cry out. And God hears both of them. Okay,
It's
yeah.
an interesting point that if a person who's lost only one parent is a U.S. son.
Yeah.
That includes both.
Yeah, correct. But I think what you're seeing is, and again, this is why I was drawn to this piece. It's a small piece, and we'll see the next one as well. It is, that's where we're holding right now, right? It was a hard enough day in the morning, receiving the coffins, and then at the end of the day, the news that we heard, and Israelis woke up to that news this morning, right? That happened late at night. It's this torture. It's not just, it's torturing, of course, it's torturing poor Yarden Bibas, and it's torturing his sister, and it's torturing the parents, and it's torturing every single one of us. And it is, and they know exactly what they're doing. And Hashem's listening, and there'll be an answer, Mir Hashem. There'll be an answer. So that's the idea, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu shomea u'ma'anisho b'chefel. And Hashem metes out punishment in a doubly, right? He's gonna get you for them, not just, he's gonna get it for all of the pain that's being caused. Sheyu b'neim yitomim ishto almana, that the child would be an orphan and a woman would be a widow. Ve'altar remez nuchal omar, and in a deeper way we can say, me'achar she'akadosh baruch hu avi yitomim, since we know God is the father of the orphans, im kein vadai v'chol tzaratam lo tzar kiviyachol. So then we know that God feels their pain. Who made them an orphan? I always point this out, it's true. Who made them an orphan? Who made that person an orphan, God forbid? Who did it? God did it. So God is responsible. It's God's fault. He's responsible, right? So He takes achrayus for that individual responsibility. L'chach amar imanei az ta'aneh gamoto shehu avi yatomim. If you afflict the orphan, you're making me feel even worse. right? Understand? Right? If you afflict the orphan, you're making me, God, feel even worse because I did this in the first place. I made this person vulnerable. And now it hurts even more, right? It's hurting over again and again and again, right? Again, think about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is feeling right now, is thinking right now. V'inei shneim tzoakim midara din mikatreget alav lamala ve'ayatom tzoek lamata ve'HaKadosh Baruch Hu rachman mekabel tzaka shneim. And as the child is calling out here, so the idea, that's why there's that double, the kef lashon. That's why there's the repetition. Imaneh, right? If you afflict him, you're afflicting me. Ta'aneh. If you cry out, im tzoek, right? Hashem is going to be tzoek as well, and he'll be compelled to act. V'Hakadosh Baruch Hu rachman kabel tzaka shneim, and Hashem hears it all. Okay, fine. The pasuk continues after this. Okay, and by the way, well, I'll read to you in the Chumash what it says after. What's the punishment? V'chara api, God will mete out his anger against those individuals. V'arakti etchem b'charev, and he'll destroy them. Zehu, and you'll understand what it means to have wives that are widows and children that are orphans. Okay. Im kesef talveh tami. So after this, we have the famous parsha of loans. Okay, of giving out a loan to another Jew. Im kesef talveh tami ta'ani imach. Okay, so to the impoverished amongst you, nira kan kefel ki hayala lomar im kesef talveh et ta'ani. It should just say if you or when you. Im is not always if, it could mean when. So when you lend out money to an ani, to a person who is poor, umitchila kro ami. Initially, it says im kesef talveh et ami. Like, why does it say ami? And then the poor person, it's weird. It should just say when you give, when you lend to the poor. So why does it say ami first? V'achkach ani, v'achkach re'echa, and then later on in the pasuk it says your friend re'echa, like ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. Okay, sha'amar im chavol tachbol salmat re'echa. Right, as it says, if you're holding the as collateral the clothing, the garment of your friend. El fisha ratzil sabato al shnei dvarim. The Torah wanted to teach you or command you about two things. Therefore, it had these two things that came before, right? There were two intros. Because there are two reasons why you have to lend to someone who's in need. Okay, one reason, the first reason is because he's your countryman. He's another Jew, right? We're about to put out the Matanos Lavyonim thing, right? It's like, yeah, we give to other Jews. That's just what we do. It doesn't matter, like, whether I know him or not. He's part of your people. He's part of Ami, right? Ami Techa. Okay, that's one. V'derech HaMelechu. This is the way of the king. This is the right way, right? This is the way to live. Bizman she'amo v'avadav mechusarim tzeda, kol adam yachol lahalvot lahem al semach she'amelech yifrat chovo. Right? It's the way of the king in a kingdom. Right? If people are in need, you give, and that the king ultimately will pay you back. Right? If you believe in the king, you believe in the system. You'll be okay. The king will pay you back. Ki al hamelech mutar lazun et amo. We're on the top left. Because the king, it's his responsibility to support his people. So if you give to a needy person, it's as if you're giving to the king himself. Meaning, you give $100 to this individual. He needs money for Shabbos. He needs money for Purim, whatever it is, right? It's as if you're giving it to the king himself. Why? Because the king is good for it. Right? He'll pay you back. He has enough money in the stores. You literally, by giving to the poor person, it's as if you're giving to the king. Think about that. It's beautiful, right? You're going to get it back. Ki ala melech mutalazun, right? V'anotein lehem ki lenotein lamelech atzmo v'alkeinu batoch b'ravonacho. Kach ha'ani zeh betoch ha'ami hu yoshev. So too, the poor person is sitting within the midst of the people of the kingdom. V'al Hashem hu mashlich yahavo, and he puts his needs on God. It says, help me out. Malvei Hashem chonein dal. And that's what it is. You're literally lending to God. Malvei Hashem. Look at that. Right? The person who lends to God is the person who has mercy on the poor. Ki achonein dal hu malvei la Hashem v'lo lo. Right? You're giving that loan to the king, to Hashem. Right? You're not giving it to even that person. Right? You're doing it because God takes achrayus. Right? This is a religion, a beautiful religion. It's what it means to be a Jew. It's so beautiful because, basically it's saying God is there for the people that can't help themselves. That's what we believe. We don't believe you could just, walk all over them. Okay? So that's number one. Hasheni, what's the second reason? Hasheni hu, shioter ani oseh imach, mima she'ata oseh imo. The second is that it's more that the poor person does more for you than what you're doing for him, right? It helps you as a person. Kidemasik b'basra perkrishon Tanya haya Rebbe Meir Omer b'chulei umasik sham im elokechem chafetz ba'aniyim lama einam mefarnasan. A famous Gemara, right, of Rebbe Meir. Someone's talking to Rebbe Meir. And he says, if your God, it's a non-Jew, God bless. And he says, if your God cares about the poor so much, why doesn't he give them money? Right? It's a good question. What do you say? You know why he doesn't give them money? So that we can earn olam haba through them. Right? So we could give it to them. Because we're his agents. We're part of it. And therefore, in that way, you may be helping him in a momentary, need, chayesha, right, in this world, but he's helping you for an eternal need, for the next world, right? It's going to come back to you, right? It's trust me, Hashem says. Atano tein lo pruta, you give him a little pruta, a little bit of penny, v'akadosh baruch hu mishalem lecha pi shnayim kiflaim, and Hashem will pay you back, double, if not more. Lekach ne'amar asher asiti imo hayom Boaz, etc. And that's the idea, right? He's doing for you. I'll tell you something really, really beautiful. Yesterday, we did this. We started this annual trip at Frisch with our Hasidus class, and with the seniors, we do go on a trip. We went to the Rebbe Zohel. I mentioned it last night, right? So we go to a Rebbe that's not here anymore, right? Whose neshama is still giving, and then we go to Reb Moshe Weinberger in Eish Kodesh. And so we went to the OL, and then we went to Reb Moshe Weinberger, and in the midst of a very difficult day for the Jewish people. It's very difficult. And someone like Reb Moshe Weinberger, he really, really feels it. He really feels it. He's a tzaddik. He really feels it. He's connected to Israel and to Jews all over the world. And we get in there, and before the Rebbe walks in, we start the kids just start spontaneously singing. Like a beautiful, like a joyful singing. And I get out on the bima and I start, acting like it's my dude. And I'm banging on and we get it going. The kids it's like rocking. And then the Rebbe walks in. It was filled, it was packed. We had 190 kids, boys and girls. The Rebbe walks in, the whole place gets up, starts singing, and literally like being Makabel, like a rock star, And he comes in. And then Rabbi Bashist, my colleague at Frisch, he gave him a gift from whatever, an old manuscript of the Kedushas Levi that was made in Munkach, where his mother is from. He said, my mother's from Munkach, and he had no idea. He was so moved. And then he spoke, and you could tell he was really broken. He was really sad. He spoke in a softer tone, gave a beautiful message, but he was down. And he sent a voice note to Rabbi Bashist last night, who forwarded it to me and my colleagues, he said exactly what this Kli Yakar just said. He said, you have no idea what a chizuk that was for me, more than anything I might have done for you, for your kids, you did for me. Uplifted. It's amazing, right? Because you give, you have no idea how much you get. You have no idea, right? So that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. And he says, "Kach nemar kan et ha'ani imach v'yichlol lashon imach lefi shehu imach al kein bal yidei oni k'dei lezakoscha." Right, meaning it's imach. It's like it's with you. That's why it says in Kesel Kaved Ami, he's part of your people. So of course you have to give, right? Et ha'ani imach, and he's with you. Like meaning you're getting too, right? That's the idea. That as much as you give, that's as much as you get. Ucheneged shnayim elu, second paragraph, siva lo al shnei dvarim. And that's where you have the command for both of those things. And he gets into the pasuk on how that works. Again, the idea that God is the king and he'll ultimately pay you back because he has the back of the ani, and the fact that you're giving and you're getting at the same time, and that's why he uses those words. Flip the page, just to conclude. The Altzara Remes, and he says Altzara Remes is Kira Shemesh. So there's a part in the pasuk where it says that if you lent on collateral and you have the garment, the cloak of your friend Reyecha ad bo hashemesh tishivenu lo. You should give it to him when the sun sets. Why? Because you don't want him to be cold, right? Right? He needs to sleep in something, right? He's going to sleep. He's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. What do you mean? You just lent him. Let's say you didn't lend him $100. Let's say you lent him $100,000. And he gives you some shmata, right? Like you gotta have some collateral, right? You gotta have some leverage over him. Says the Torah, no, we don't play that game. We don't play that game. You have to care for that person. You gave to him. You're gonna resent him? No, give to him. He needs it. So that's what it says. Ad bo hashemesh. Why does it say ad bo hashemesh till the sun sets? He says lomar histakel b'shemesh shebarati l'shameschem al tzara chesed ve'atzdaka. Look at the sun that I created that you can use, right? Look what the sun does for you, right? You walk outside, it's hard to experience it when we're not, when we're in freezing weather, right? But you get a little bit of the sun and you feel it, you feel the warmth. You feel the kindness, you feel the tzedakah, the charity, the way that God deals with us. And it reminds us of how Hashem renews this every single day. V'chol ha'mitzvot she'osim ba'olam hazeh yirei Hashem v'chosh v'shmo kulam einan kedai l'chesed gadol zeh she'akadosh baruch hu mazriach lahem hashemesh b'chol yom. Oh, and you think you're doing so much good, you think you're being such a bal chesed, oh, it's too much, I can't give as much, they're always asking me, He says, anything you do, any kindness you give is nothing compared to the infinite kindness that God does every single day, every single second, right? Don't worry, you're in good company. You're in good company. Be a Baal Chesed. Oh, I do so much already. Do more. Do more. There's no, right? The Talmud Torah is Keneged Kulam, right? There are also things that are Ein Lahem Shir, right? Ve'elu Dvarim She'ein Lahem Shir, Peah, Bikurim, Arayim, Milas Chasadim, all of those things. Just do more. There's no Shir. Oh, I'm Yotze. No, I'm Yotze. Oh, I did a midnight run once in, 2018. I'm Yotze. I don't have to give to the poor in the city. Like, whatever. That's the point. Emulate Hashem. Look, he made the sun. Look what he did. Right? Even for everyone, the sun rises because of this. It's just an abundant kindness. And that's why Shlomo HaMelech says in Koheles, there's nothing new, like nothing new under the sun, or there's no benefit under the sun. Why does it say the sun? Nothing can come close to what Hashem did. Hashem created the universe. Hashem allows it to turn on its axis and orbit and stay, right? It's amazing. There's nothing compares to that. So you know what our job is? It's just to keep going. Is to do the best we can, right? To keep going. And we should try. Maybe we could try to fly. The Icarus story. He tried to fly too close to the sun. No, our job is actually to walk towards the sun, and do the best to emulate Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, ki tistakel b'shemesh tzedakah shani osei imach. V'az tikach musar. You should take musar from that. U'imeni tireh v'chein ta'aseh kashem shani mazriach lecha kama kach ata tazriach la'ani zeh. And just like I give sun to everyone, whether they deserve it or not. The sun rises on the Hamas terrorists too, right? They don't deserve it, right? So good. Give to this. Give to this poor person. Right? Who's walking in the darkness? Never. Just give him something. And I'll just close with this line. And he says, V'yeshod remez, and he talks about it more, and he says, Ela ivrim asher b'machaneh ivrim. It's a remez to the those who are blind who are walking in a camp of blindness, meaning, they're surrounded by blind people, right? People who think they know, what life is about. They think they're doing the right things, and yet they're completely blind. They have total blinders on, right? And I think it brings us back to these horrible, just vicious monsters. I don't like using the word. Any word doesn't suffice. I think it's pure evil. It's pure evil, and they subject the world to it. They subject us to it. They subject their own people to it, and many of them buy into it. Right? There were babies. There were women and babies watching coffins of babies being transferred over into the Red Cross. Like it's pure evil, but they're blind. They're blind, and we can never forget that we have the Shemesh on our side, we have the sun on our side, we have light on our side, we understand what it is to live our lives for others, and to live our lives and feel others' pain, and to recognize the humanity in every single person, first and foremost in our people, in Amecha, right, in the Jewish community, and in Mirz Hashem, in that Zechus. We just have to keep going. We have to keep searching for that light. We have to keep searching for that chesed that we can do for the next person. And God willing, we will see a geula shalema, and just a reversal of fortunes for all of our enemies, and the darkness lifted. And we should walk into the great light of the geula shalema from here beyond. Amen. Rabbi Chanan and Mekash Meretz HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Es Yisrael Leficha Chiv Lam Ter Mitzvah Nemar Adonai Chafetz Man Tzidko Yad Yeter V'Yad Yer Kadosh Rabbanim.
Amen.